Hi guys! In my previous video, I highlighted a case of abuse of power within a European call for projects managed by the EACEA. In short, a restriction on accepted content suddenly appeared after the evaluation of the projects, despite it not being reported in the call guidelines. You can find the full story in this video. The issue isn't just about applicants wasting their time from the very start, but it also impacts the role of institutions as it opens the door to corruption and clientelism. If decisions can be arbitrarily justified, then an evaluation committee could penalize good projects to favor acquaintances and just say that they were interested in different things. And this brings us to the question, who has the task to control these processes? And what happens if these bodies fail to act? It's almost ironic, because one day a colleague of mine asked a third-party professor an opinion about the case, and he was also dissatisfied with the type of answer received by the EACEA, and he just said, "There's nothing you can do." It's not that a single person cannot challenge power abuse. The European law clearly defines the concept for proposal rejections. The real issue is that if you are a researcher, you try to avoid criticizing the bodies that are responsible for your funding. Who knows who will be reviewing your future applications? For this reason, reviewing bodies may feel entitled sometimes to force meaning in their direction, because, what's the worst case scenario? Very few people have the courage to challenge them. And if they do, it's very likely they will not find support, because it's the word of a renowned public institutions with great values against the word of a mere applicant. Who's going to support that applicant? Probably nobody. This behavior capitalizes on known difficulties experienced by citizens when dealing with public institutions. These difficulties include lengthy administrative processes. Organizations can, for example, unnecessarily prolong appeal procedures, causing applicants to eventually drop out. High costs. Hiring a professional lawyer with the necessary expertise to deal with this specialized theme can have high costs, and one applicant may not be able to afford it. And legal unawareness. For example, one applicant may not know how to proceed or the timeline to do so. For example, my lawyer told me that many times people miss deadlines due to unawareness. All this information is available in my blog, Points of Discontinuity, that I will link in the description below. And I remind you to subscribe to the channel if you can, which would help me very much get the attention of Europe towards the problem. Therefore, identifying and reacting to power abuse can be a long, difficult and expensive process, and it is for this reason that the European Union has created an organization to specifically deal with this problem, the European Ombudsman. To report a potential case of power abuse, you have 2 years from the last correspondence with the EU institution, and the service is free. The European Ombudsman is an independent, impartial body that investigates complaints of maladministration by European institutions, bodies, offices and agencies. Their aim is to promote good administration and transparency. These regulatory bodies are crucial. They are responsible to make sure that democratic processes are respected. But what happens if these bodies choose not to act? Let's consider, for example, the Theranos case. If you don't know it, Theranos was a startup formed by Elizabeth Holmes. She promised revolutionary blood tests using just a single drop of blood. She was able to deceive investors for years, acclaimed as the youngest self-made billionaire, all this largely unchecked. Eventually, this massive fraud was exposed thanks to two brave people, Erica Chong and Tyler Schutz. Erica confirmed she was able to do this because she reported the problem to a regulatory agency, which initiated an investigation.
And I was lucky enough, I called a free lawyer, but he had suggested, why don't you report to a regulatory agency?
But what if the regulatory agency had not acted? Would the fraud have continued forever? To return to my story, I submitted a complaint to the European Ombudsman about this instance of power abuse by the EACEA in a call for proposals. The European Commission defines it this way. Applicants can raise procedural irregularities, factual error, manifest error of assessment, or abuse of powers, such as lack of coherence between scores and comments or inadequate reasoning of the conclusion. Despite acknowledging my eligibility, the European Ombudsman failed to act. They dismissed my complaint with an unclear, no sufficient grounds. Now the question is why? They eventually stated that it is not their role to reassess project proposals. Yet the European law defines inadequate reasoning as a form of power abuse, which is why the Ombudsman was created. So who should control this form of power abuse? Today, I'm effectively stuck. A lawyer told me that there are no other routes to bring this case forward, and no organization is helping me out with this problem. And yet it feels unjust and dangerous. So here are a few critical points that emerge from this story. First, the European Ombudsman is an organization that is funded with your money to protect you from power abuse by European institutions. Yet they feel authorized to deny you a service that meets their mandate. Eventually, European treaties outline inaction as a reason for challenging the legality of European acts. However, my lawyer suggested that terms have expired to bring the case in front of a judge, as I only had 2 months after the rejection of the proposal. If you have any insights or you would like to suggest an idea, please leave a comment below. Second, it appears that reviewing bodies within a call for proposal can deny a grant without any reasonable justification. This effectively opened the doors to potential corruption and clientelism. Third, taken altogether, this episode suggests one of the main themes that we will explore within this channel. Research as a whole seems to be unaccountable. I will talk more about this in future videos. Finally, some projects can be dismissed without justification, others can be funded without justification, which makes the selection process unpredictable. And this is curious because science is mostly based on predictability. So each and any of our steps towards sustainability can be undermined by an equal number of steps backwards. And this might explain why we are behind on our 2030 goals. So where are we going with research, and should it be held accountable? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I remind you to subscribe to the channel and visit my GoFundMe profile that you will find in the description, because I'm trying to find options to act for justice. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.